Well, good afternoon.
I did a costume change.
I did not see that coming. Good afternoon, DCL podcast fans. And we are back on the air. It's kind of crazy with a bunch of vacations lately. And Chris, you caught me off guard there.
Well, for the people listening and not watching, I put on my Mickey ears that I got at Disneyland for this very timely Disneyland update. So it's worth watching these things in person.
Yes, because he was not wearing those ears when we just chatted a minute ago.
You know, just a quick costume change for those who are joining us live.
So we'll get into the Disneyland stuff here in just a second, but were those like all over the place? Were they easy to find?
Yeah, I mean, there are so many. There's like Pride merch at every single store. For those of you who don't know, I'm wearing the first ever Pride Mickey ears. So they've done rainbow Mickey ears before, but these are the first ever that are literally Disney is saying these have been released for Pride, which is a big deal for someone like me who's a huge Disney fan. It's been waiting a long time for this. So yeah, they were all over the resort and cast members kept wishing me happy Pride. It was super fun. So yeah, check them out. I think you can even get them on Shop Disney, maybe.
I love it. Well, Christy, you're in Florida. Chris, you're down in California. And I am just minutes away from you in California, Chris. If everybody can see my new studio that I've got in the background, it's the beautiful Ayers Hotel here in Ontario, California.
Your Duchess bed behind you.
Duchess bed. They have not updated this hotel in decades, probably, I guess. But no, it's a decent place. I got a funny story. So a couple of years ago, we had to divert because of fog in San Diego, and we went from San Diego to Ontario. So I got on the radio or on the intercom or the overhead and told everybody what was going on. We're diverting to Ontario, and immediately the flight attendants started going ding, ding, ding. They're calling up. They're going, hey, the people are worried. A lot of people don't have their passports, and they're wondering why they're going to Canada.
It's funny because, first of all, most people don't know there's an Ontario.
I didn't know it was a thing. I thought you were going.
People wouldn't expect there to be an international airport in Ontario, California that they've never heard of. But this airport won a bid at some point to be built, and it's just like happens to be the city that won that bid. So it is the Inland Empire's International Airport, and it's called Ontario International Airport. And sometimes it is cheaper to fly to Disney World out of Ontario, and you better believe that we will book a flight out of Ontario if it's a lot cheaper.
So Disneyland.
No, if I want to go to Disney World, I want to go to Disney World, I'll check Ontario because I'm not above driving an extra hour if it means saving $500.
Yeah, it's a beautiful. I mean, it's a super easy airport to get into and out of for people who live here. The only knock on it is just that maybe the lack of destinations. You don't have like a lot of non-stops all over the country, so you probably have to stop somewhere whatever your carrier is. But as far as like ease of use, it's kind of like Orange County, where it's just super easy compared to dealing with LAX.
Mm-hmm. Totally.
So, well, let's jump into today. We've been on vacation, Chris and I. Christy's been working.
I have been working so much.
And of course, as would happen, the fall 2022 dates come out. Christy, what's the chatter been? Because I'll be completely honest, I have not been paying totally attention to it. But what's the chatter on the fall dates?
The chatter is that they are boring. It's horrible to say a little bit, and that they are expensive.
So, is that true?
Okay. So I don't know. I'm a part of this one travel agent group, and there's a bunch of discussion, and people are complaining that their concierge cabins are so much more. This is, and I will say that on some sailings, they looked a little bit higher, but everything sold out so quickly on the Wish.
I have a theory, which is that Steve is the one who told me this fun tidbit, and I don't know where you heard this, Steve. So if I'm spreading fake news, I apologize. But Steve told me that many travel industries are estimating 4 years worth of travel money being spent in the next year or in 1 year because people didn't travel during the pandemic, and there's all this pent up energy for travel. And that means that way more Disney Cruise Lines fans have a little bit more money in the bank for vacation. And I bet you there's way more demand for concierge right now because people have a bit more money saved up to spend on those rooms that are already in high demand. So I bet you they are more expensive.
Well, and the first batch sold out before it even left gold. I mean, I'm pretty sure most of platinum, they were almost all sold out. There were some still in gold, but why wouldn't Disney? Disney said, I could sell it. We have wait list people trying to get in. Why aren't we letting them get in? If they will pay it, charge it.
100%.
So just to be clear, you're talking mostly about the Wish concierge ones going away and not the ones that just released.
Well, right. So the current Wish fall 2022 still wide open. So, but the prices have started out a little bit higher.
Okay.
Which is potentially to be expected. I mean, that's what I would have predicted.
I looked at the one that we're going to book tomorrow and give a shout out to Scott Sanders. He's got opening day prices from today where Platinum and Golden Oak could book. And he always does it for 2 people in a cabin. So you can kind of look at that. And the one for 2019 prices to 2022 prices, it was only $200 more in 2022 for what we're looking to book. So for 2 people.
That's kind of shocking because that's,
yeah.
That's right at the 10%, which has always been the case. So yeah, I mean, that's not bad.
Okay. Well, we're not going to go too deep into this. So just kind of take a quick overview of what the ships are doing. We'll start off with the Disney Wish, the latest and the greatest. Is it the latest and greatest? I don't know. We'll find out after we sail on it. But the Disney Wish,
we gotta go.
We'll be sailing out of Port Canaveral in the fall. She'll be doing 3-night Bahamian and 4-night Bahamian cruises. A bunch of different options out there. She's going to be doing Halloween on the High Seas, Very Merry cruises. And does she have a double dip, Christy?
No, she doesn't. The Dream does.
Okay. So
I mean, she might, but I'm not aware.
Okay. Anyways, so today is platinum.
Sorry.
Tomorrow. No, that's okay. Today's platinum. Tomorrow's gold. And you can go on Disney Cruise Line's website and see all the different options for sailing on the Disney Wish. The Disney Fantasy is going to stay in Port Canaveral as well. She's got a couple different options. She does a 6-night Western and then back and forth with 7-night different options of the Western and Eastern Caribbean cruises. But she does have one 8-night Eastern, which goes to, she got 2 days at sea, St. Martin, Antigua, St. Thomas, day at sea, and then Castaway Cay. So a little bit of a different option there.
And that's the reason there's a 6-night is because she's doing one 8-night?
Probably.
Right.
There was also the Fantasy also, but I don't know if she had it for, I think she still did for 2022, had a one-off also earlier. So I could be wrong about that, But
Steve, correct me if I'm wrong. What was predicted is happening, which is the Dream is now sailing out of Miami and the Wish is taking up those 3 and 4 day sailings alternating for the rest of fall.
Correct. So let's move on to the Dream. Then the Dream's going to be out of Miami. She's going to be doing 4-night Bahamian cruises from Miami and then 5-night with I'll let you talk about that one, Christy. The 5-night double.
Oh yeah. So the week of Christmas. So but before Christmas, that's why this is so enticing. I so wanted to book it. She is doing a 5-night double dip to Castaway Cay, and which, those are my favorite. Just easy to relax, awesome. Take your child on vacation cruises. So that is definitely something like a Shannon Ford who lives in South Florida should be trying to get on that cruise, if you ask me, because kids are out of school. You have to do something with your time. And it's just such a great way to spend some time before Christmas.
So a bunch of different options. And I think this kind of holds true and makes sense to me. She's doing 4-night and 5-night sailings out of Miami right now. And I mean, I couldn't imagine her doing 3-night sailings, I guess, for some reason. After doing the drive from Orlando down to the Keys and thinking about driving, if that's how you're going to get there, if you're going to spend time at Disney World and then driving down there for a 3-night cruise, I don't think I'd do it personally. I'd want to be on the ship a little bit longer. So it makes sense that she's doing 4 and 5 nights. That's just my opinion. Any thoughts on that, guys?
No, I agree.
No.
Yeah,
All right,
especially because that bullet train or whatever they're calling it isn't going to be ready by then, right? Or it'll have just launched but won't be built all the way to Disney World.
That I'm not sure when it launches.
Yeah, I don't
But
know.
either way, it's not very easy to get to Miami, so it makes sense to do a bit longer cruises.
Right. All right. So we move on to the Magic for fall of 2022. She starts off over in England. She does a 12 night westbound transatlantic, and then she ends up in New York where she does 5 night cruises down to Bermuda. I really want to do one of those. I've never been to Bermuda. Have you, Christy?
I haven't.
I've heard that's just a great cruise where you go down there. She stays in port for 2 days. So you've got a lot of time to explore the island and really see everything that is there. And I've heard Bermuda is just an amazing island. I really want to do one of those sailings. But she does a bunch of 5 night sailings from New York down to Bermuda. She has one 6 night Canadian sailing. She does go to St. John, which is in Halifax, Nova Scotia. So she does actually go up to Canada. Hopefully our friends in the north it will be open by then. Let's see.
This chart does, yeah, God, better be open by then. But doesn't this list say that Nova Scotia, Halifax is Nova Scotia, but St. John is New Brunswick? I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm just reading.
I said that wrong. St. John is New Brunswick and Halifax is in Nova Scotia. And then also stops in Bar Harbor in Maine. And then she transitions down to the Caribbean. She does a 7 night down to San Juan, does a 7 night Southern Caribbean out of San Juan. So if you want to, it's kind of cool to see her back doing that. And then, surprise, surprise, guess who's going to Galveston all the way to Texas?
Wow.
I've
And
got
we've
a
lost our Texas listeners.
yeah,
It's
the magic.
magic.
Yeah, the magic of instead of the Wonders going over to Galveston, she's going to be doing a bunch of different sailings. 6 night, 5 nights, 7 nights out of Galveston that takes you into Christmas. All of these ships are doing very merry time and Halloween on the high seas, depending upon the date. And here we come to what's up with the Wonder.
Yeah, so basically the Wonder is staying on the West Coast and is not announced what's next. So typically sometime in the fall, going into the winter, usually it's like after Halloween on the high seas, but before Very Merry technically starts. So you actually get a Very Merry Time 2-week cruise. They sail through the Panama Canal. This year, it's just a blank mystery. There's no commitment to sail through the Panama Canal or when it's going to happen. They're sailing Alaska into like mid-September. I think there's even some Mexico cruises on there, but there are no, what's after Mexico.
It just ends. And I can't believe they opened, like, I feel like they've done this before with the Magic while they were squaring up some things, but I can't believe they opened the booking window right now with a big hole in the schedule.
I think, harkening back to my theory that Americans want to spend money right now, that they are just trying to get product out there, and they can open up it feels to me like the Wish opened up its first booking window like 4 days ago. So it feels like they are rushing into a new booking window. But honestly, they've been without income for over a year, and it's a big deal. In fact, a while back on one of those shareholder calls, they were saying how much revenue they lost from the Magic being in dry dock. And it was so much money. I don't remember the amount of money, but it was only in dry dock for 2 weeks. And the amount of money that they said that the Magic makes in a 2-week period, I was like, if you multiply that by 2 because of Magic and Wonder, and then however much more money the Fantasy and the Dream make, they lost so much revenue in the past year that I bet you they're going to be like, should we open up winter? Should we open up spring? Why don't we
I know.
all the way out to 2025?
No, for real. That is totally what I was thinking when they released this so quickly. I was like, they are looking to get those deposits placed in their money. I just got my credit card bill today for all of the Wish cruises that I've already placed on it. And now I've just placed another one. So it's like, yeah, we haven't even paid off that bill yet.
Well, hold that thought as far as what you booked. We'll touch on that in just a second. But so the Magic's going to, as you say, Chris, she's up in Alaska. And then September 19th, she does her 4 night down from Vancouver to San Diego. And that's pretty much it. She does a 5 night Baja cruise, a 7 night Baja cruise, a 4 night cruise, a 3 night cruise. And then the schedule disappears. So Sarah's out there. She says there's scuttlebutt that the Wonder is going to home port out of San Diego. Chris and
That's
I would
what
love
I'm
to see
hearing.
that.
Yeah, before we talked about rumors, so why don't we quickly say that is a rumor that they will just have the Wonder as a West Coast ship, and they will do as long of a season as they can in Alaska. They will do Mexico, and they might even toy with the idea of several 2-week cruises out to Hawaii and back, all as a way to basically say, like, look, we could be near Disneyland and near one of our big money makers and have a cruise, like a viable cruise option year round. So I think that's a possibility, but again, that's all speculation. Disney has not confirmed.
Maria says, with the new fleet, it would be nice to have the Wonder to call home the West Coast. I agree with you,
I'm sorry,
Maria.
it's not the fantasy, Steve.
Well, eventually she'll be over here when she's like 80 years old.
Yeah.
Just wait
When she's
till people
25.
leave or whatever.
The enchantment. Yeah.
The Believe or the Enchantment get released, then we'll have our fantasy out here on the West Coast.
So I'm going to do some scouring. I'm going to tell you, this is hard to find. I found the Magic about a year ago when she was going into Greece and found that on a website. But it's hard to find when the ships are stopping in different ports.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder, and this is total Steve speculation. I wonder if they're going to finally try Asia, because if they're going to go to Asia, that's the time of the year to go.
I don't see it. I'm always wrong, though. I'm the worst person to make a guess. I don't see it happening already.
I don't know.
But,
I don't know. They, in all honesty, they're kind of hamstrung with Castaway Key and having 5 ships all trying to fit into Castaway Key right now. So it makes sense that they leave one of them on the West Coast or doing something else, because it really ties up that island as far as being able to get a Castaway Key every time.
Yeah,
which people want to go to.
And Disney's going to buy Catalina, and then we'll have a West Coast freezing cold Pacific Ocean island to call our home.
Yeah, you can get your luck on.
That's going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, shouldn't they buy an entire 20-mile island?
Yeah. Hey, do you know who used to own Catalina?
I actually don't. Is this like a dad joke or a real fact?
No, it's the Wrigley Company.
It still feels like a dad joke, but I also think it's true. The Wrigley Company owned
Catalina.
What did they do with it?
So I don't know, Mr. Wrigley, I don't know enough about the Wrigleys, but the gum company owned Catalina. And if you've heard of Wrigley Field, Chris, because I know you're a big sports ball fan, which is the
famous football field.
Famous, the Chicago Cubs.
I got it right. Chicago.
Yeah, but it's baseball.
No, I knew.
The Cubs used to have spring training out on Catalina Island back in like the 20s or 30s.
Huh.
So glamorous, you know?
There you go.
That would definitely be a terrible business move, because there is not a lot of waterness out in Catalina because it's so cold. But also, stranger things have happened. I feel like the one drawback to any cruise out of the West Coast is that there is no Castaway. So they got to do something. We need some sort of bonus island here or something.
A lot of Mexico, maybe they could get down a little further into Central America. I'm not sure. I like the Hawaii thing, and who knows? So we'll see. We could speculate on that, but we'll be following up on it. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, MySpace, and we will make sure that all of that is out in those different places. So
we recently reserved our handle on TikTok. There's no content there, but Steve keeps referring to it as MySpace. So maybe one day we'll make TikToks.
What is it on TikTok, Chris? DCL
we have zero content, but it's the same as every other thing. DCL_podcast. Maybe one day I'll make some wild TikToks and we'll take the world by storm. We'll finally get our Gen Z DCL podcast audience.
I'm a little disappointed you haven't done it yet.
Listen, TikTok is one of my favorite places on the internet.
I know you keep sending me stuff with them that I don't watch.
But Christy, it's quality DCL content. There are DCL fans on TikTok.
I know, so get our stuff on there.
All right, I'll do it one day.
Okay. So we're gonna move into our main topic.
The same day I log in.
We're gonna move into our main topic. I was just kidding, Sarah. That was a joke about MySpace. We're gonna move into our main topic, Disneyland. That video that you sent of the Amazing Spider-Man flipping through the air was crazy. I can't wait to talk about Avengers Campus. But Chris, when did you and Seth go? What was it like getting back there? Tell us where you stayed.
Okay, so as you all know, when I first joined this trio of co-hosts, my main claim to fame is that I was our roving co-host at Disneyland because I live very close to Disneyland. And since the pandemic, I have not been on a ride at Disneyland, obviously, in what would it be, 15, 16 months now. So it was very special. We had booked this trip for Seth's birthday. Happy birthday, Seth. And we stayed in like a Disney partner hotel because at the time, the only hotel that was open was the Grand Cal. And it was literally like $900 a night or something like that. So we did not stay at the Grand Cal, but we stayed across the street, walking distance to the main plaza.
Well, where did you stay?
Oh gosh, I even hate saying it. Do not recommend, but it's called the Candlewood Suites. The reason I don't recommend is honestly, it was kind of stressful there. There was sometimes like yelling in the hallway, and it didn't have a Disney feeling to me. But it was very inexpensive, and we stayed on point, so it was $0. It was free 99, and that's why we stayed there. So yeah, we stayed at the Candlewood Suites, which is it is technically considered a good neighbor hotel. So Disney vets those, but I'll tell you, they're vetted to like not give you bed bugs, but they're not like super nice hotels, some of them. But it is walking distance. We got there on Wednesday, the 16th, and that night we had dinner at Naples, which is the best pizza on the Disneyland property. Like hands down, best pizza on Disneyland property. If you're looking for good pizza, it's seriously the best. And honestly, if you've ever been to the restaurant in the Italy Pavilion, the pizza restaurant at the back of the Italy Pavilion, Via Napoli, is owned by the same restaurant group. And I believe that they use the same recipes. So you could get pretty much that same quality pizza there. So that was our first night, was at Naples. It's called like Naples I Ristorante. And highly recommend.
One quick thing, we always get reservations ahead of time. You can get reservations in normal times. You can get them just a couple days before usually.
For Naples.
Yeah. So make sure, if you're going to Disneyland, make sure you get reservations, because it pains me. We walk up usually at 6:00, get our table, and there's this huge line of people that don't know that you can get it. So if you're going to Disneyland and you know you want to make a dinner reservation, definitely do it. The other thing that's cool about Naples is they have a walk-up window where you can order the pizza. You don't have to eat there and take it back to your hotel if you're staying on property.
Yeah, it's called like Napolini, like miniature Naples, basically. And they do like Chipotle style pizza where it's like order down a line and they put it in the oven and then they give you your own pizza by yourself. So
like
that's a renovated concept. It used to be the way Steve was describing, where they had slices and you could buy them. But now it's personal pizzas that they make in front of you and then fire oven fresh. It's still a great concept, though. Highly recommend. And Steve's right. Because it's in downtown Disney, you can get last minute reservations. So, and by last minute, I don't mean same day, but I do mean like within 3 or 4 days ahead, you can usually find a reservation at Naples, and you will not be able to eat there same day without waiting a long time. So get reservations, highly recommend. Then we walked around downtown Disney, and just sort of like soaked up the fact that we were going to get to see things we hadn't seen in a while. And we sort of like shopped around. We wanted to get our friend who was watching our pup and taking care of things at home. We wanted to get like a thank you gift. So we started our hunt for that. And also it was just nice to be able to go into World of Disney without waiting in a line to get in. You could just like walk in without waiting. So that was cool. So that was the first night on the 16th of June. And then the way that the trip was scheduled, and then I'll let you ask more questions, Steve, was DCA, so California Adventure, on Thursday, and then Disneyland on Friday. I wanted to see Marvel, and I also wanted to end with Disneyland because that's my OG love.
So World of Marvel, which I can't think of that name. Oh,
Avengers Campus.
I like my name better. I don't know why they didn't use it.
It's strange.
World of Marvel was on the first day.
Yes.
Okay.
Did you look at getting a park hopper at all, or you guys just did single tickets?
It wasn't going to be worth it. I actually, if you're going to be there one day, do a park hopper. If you're not, and you're only going to be there 2 days, then I'm like, why not just do one whole park one day and one whole park the next day? Because that gives you the chance to really just experience everything that park has to offer without the stress of going back and forth. If you have a multi-day, like 3, 4, 5-day ticket, then the park hopper is worth it because the parks are, if you've never been to our resorts, they're literally across from each other. You can walk 300 feet from one gate to the other, basically. And so the park hopper is way more convenient of an option than Disney World, where you have to like get on a bus and it takes you like 2 hours to get to another resort. But I still think there is way too much to do in either park for you to need a park hopper if you're only going to be there for 2 days. Because then why not just do 1 day in one park and 1 day in the other, which is what we did.
And then that helps too. So if you're doing a 1-day ticket, you can't do the specialty queues for both Rise and World of Marvel. You have to web slingers.
You choose.
I don't know what these words are.
Which park you're going to, and then that day you can only get a boarding pass for the one ride. Instead of, if you have a boarding pass at 7 a.m., you could get a boarding pass for the first park that you are allowed into, and then at noon you can try for the park that you're not in to see if you can get a boarding pass for that one.
So in theory, you could park hop, and I do recall that now. You could park hop and get both boarding groups potentially if you're really quick on the draw.
Yeah, friend of the show, Brian and Sam got both attractions today, in fact, at Disneyland and California Adventure. They started at Web Slingers and then went to Rise. So it's possible, but yeah, if y'all think that it is stressful getting a boarding group in Disney World, where they are spreading crowds across 4 parks, and people usually are in the parks for more than 1 day. So if they don't get it today, they can try again tomorrow. At Disneyland, we are talking just locals pretty much, and those locals only bought 1 day. So if there are high stakes to be able to ride the thing. And when I say it sells out in seconds, I mean milliseconds. It will say no boarding groups available. You have to be like click, 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 click without even looking. You just push the buttons and then hope that you got through.
But that's what you have to do at Walt Disney World too. And so people just need to remember that. And it's that much more competitive, which is good to know. But everybody has to remember that at Walt Disney World, in 2 seconds, Rise is going to be gone. 1 second, technically, Rise is going to be gone.
Yep. Agreed.
Okay, so let's do some nuts and bolts, and then we'll talk about Avengers Campus. Does that sound good?
Yeah.
And if
you can call it Avengers Campus,
I'll
call it World of Marvel.
Seth says your first boarding group must be called before noon to be eligible for the second boarding group.
Good point.
Okay.
You understand what that means, Steve?
No.
So basically, you have to have, you can't have 2 boarding groups at the same time. So
you click the thing and get World of Marvel at 8 a.m. Then you can then try for Rise at noon. Gotcha. But if World of Marvel, I have got to learn the right name, doesn't come up until 1 p.m., then you can't try for Rise.
Right. And the times in California, at least, are 7 a.m. and noon.
Okay, so we got a lot of listeners out there. If we're not asking the questions that you want to know about Disneyland or Adventures Campus, please chime in and I'll make sure we get comments. Yeah, ask in the comments. I'll make sure I get it out there. Okay, so let's do some nuts and bolts for people visiting. Do they have the early entry if you're staying on property?
Nope, not a thing.
No early entry. And as far as getting the boarding groups, do you have to be in the park to get them, or can you do them outside of the park?
For the 7 a.m., you have to have a valid reservation for that day, but you don't need to be in the park because the parks aren't open yet. So you could be at home, and like we were in our hotel when we tried. So you don't even have to be waiting in line or trying to get into the park at 7 a.m. At noon, you must have scanned a ticket into one park or the other in order for you to be able to get a boarding group.
Okay. And then as far as park hoppers go, is it like Disney World where you have to wait till 2 before you can go across, or can you go back and forth? Do you know?
I don't know what time it is, but it is timed. It might be noon or 1 here, but it's like you're not allowed to go to another park until afternoon or 1. I don't know exactly what time, but there is a time that you aren't allowed to park hop. And then after that time, you can park hop as much as you want.
Okay. And I know that when Disneyland first, let's talk about food real quick. I know that when Disneyland first opened, just due to the lack of, well, for whatever reasons, you can't just walk up and get food. You have to mobile order it. And if you wait till noon to get to, and you want to eat at 12:30, you're probably not going to get anything till 2 or 3. Did you find the same thing while you were there? Is that something that people need to do?
It's a little better now because what they have done is opened up more restaurants this past weekend, and that basically ate up some of the demand. So there's still high demand. If you want to eat at a specific place, it doesn't hurt to just mobile order. However, you can't mobile order Pym's Test Kitchen unless you are physically in a vendor's campus, because otherwise you could be waiting in line to get into the campus when your food is ready, and that's not good. So you have to physically be there. And what they do for Pym's is they open up reservations throughout the day for food. So like, at one point, Seth and I were bummed because we were like, we're not going to get to try Pym's Test Kitchen because there were no available. And then they opened up a new batch for the dinner time hours. So we grabbed them then.
Okay.
And then to answer the one question before we move on, park hopping begins at Disneyland at 1 p.m.
Perfect.
So between the two parks.
Thank you for checking on accurate responses and answers.
We will ask. We had a question. Did you eat at Pym, and how was it? We'll get to that in just a second. Okay. Anything outside of Avengers Campus, as far as DCA goes, that you want to talk about? How were the lines? Any rough idea? Did things kind of flow normally? And was Max Pass available?
Okay, so Max Pass, which is our version of Fast Pass. So we have Fast Pass actually for free in Disneyland. However, to get a Fast Pass in Disneyland for free, you have to physically go up to the ride or attraction and get the Fast Pass at the like scanner at that attraction. Now, Max Pass was cool because it let you do it all from the app, but you had to pay like $15 a day to do that. So that whole system is gone right now. There are no Fast Passes available in the parks. If you see someone going through the Fast Pass line, that means that they have a guest assistance pass or they are part of a VIP tour. Those are the only people using Fast Pass queues right now. Here's the thing. Fast Pass makes standby lines move like molasses. The fact that Fast Pass exists means that every standby line in the park is going to move very, 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 very slowly. When there is no Fast Pass, the lines look very, very crowded and they move very, very fast. So, and Disney is way overquoting right now. So we went to Space Mountain and it was quoting like a 50-minute wait and it was a 20-minute wait. So, and the line was really long. So I just want folks to like, who are like, I could never handle going to Disneyland without Fast Pass. Fast Pass kind of ruins everything and it kind of makes things amazing. If you know how to work the system, Fast Pass is great. But if you don't, or they're out of Fast Passes, those standby lines only move as slow as they do because Fast Pass exists. So I'm like 50-50 on if I even want Fast Pass to return, because we had a really pleasant time and we never had to wait more than 30 minutes for anything. And we rode everything we wanted.
Well, but you're not at 100% capacity. You're not even at 50% capacity.
That's true. But the parks felt crowded. Like there were lots of people there. Again, you're right. I could maybe feel way different about it since I haven't actually been to a Disneyland without Fast Pass since the 90s. But I will say those standby lines move so slowly when Fast Pass exists. But when Fast Pass doesn't exist, those standby lines are zippy. They move fast. I like it.
So anything else you want to talk about just DCA, or let's get into Avengers Campus before we run out of time, because that's what people want to hear about. So you and Seth, you walk down the avenue there, and I'm totally drawing a blank on what it's called. Holy cow! What? The main
Buena
entrance,
Vista Street.
Buena Vista Street, and you go Avengers Assemble, and you head to Avengers Campus. What was it like? Is it big? What are your thoughts of Avengers Campus? And let's talk about the rides in Pym's Test Kitchen.
Yeah, so there. In the mornings right now, they're not letting everybody in to the campus. You have to wait in line. And when we were there, the line disappeared completely by 1. So my personal opinion is don't wait in the line. Why would you wait in the line when you know you can get into the land without waiting in line at 1 p.m.? Don't do that. But if you need to wait in a line, then you have to wait in a line to even get into the campus. However, that video that I took of Spider-Man flying through the air was actually from outside of the campus because I couldn't get in yet because that was like first thing in the morning. So you could even be outside of the campus and see that whole Spider-Man show right there because it's right on the main parade route in DCA. So there's a lot of ambiance there. But anyway, we did eventually get in to the campus. We didn't wait in the line. We went in around 1. And the very first thing that happened when we went in is you go over this giant arc reactor, which is like how the campus is powered. Basically, it's like a big. Christy loves this.
I'm
it's
dying.
like a big blue electrical thing, and right at that exact moment, Spider-Man was out for meet and greets, and the cast member was like, "No line. Do you want to meet Spider-Man?" And we were like, "Obviously." So we went over and we met Spider-Man. He did like little poses for us, and then
does he talk?
Yeah. Well,
Not
okay.
really.
He does when he's doing his show, but when he's doing his meet and greet, he's very quiet and shy, which I think
Just
So-
leave it at that.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
He's quiet and shy. So anyway, when you first walk in, the story of the land is that it is a old Stark warehouse property that they have like added and overtaken with like Avengers Campus tech. So the buildings are old and new at the same time. Like there's really old brick and then like brand new additions to the building, which incidentally makes it make a lot more sense why the Bugs Land building now has all these additional buildings glued to the side of it, because it's like, oh yes, Mr. Stark's building has new tech added to it. So it does have like a very piecemeal look, but it's part of the story. And it does make sense. There are Easter eggs everywhere of like Marvel and Avengers storylines and characters and plots and history, things to come, things that haven't happened yet, things from the comics. It's all over. But Web Slingers is technically the first thing you'll encounter on your left-hand side. On your right-hand side, you will see Web Suppliers, which is the only store in the entire campus. It's a tiny store. It's shocking when you think about the sheer number of retail space in Galaxy's Edge, that they built an entire new land with one store that is like the size of my living room. Not even. It is smaller than my living room. So their solution is that they took Stage 17 in Hollywood and put all of the Marvel merch there. So if you want to buy Marvel merch, you have to actually not even buy it from the land because the Web Supplier store pretty much has Spider-Man themed things. And then past there, on your right-hand side is the most amazing Doctor Strange section. It's so cool. I could have spent the whole day just walking around in there. They have this cool visual photo thing that's built into the land. It's like,
Is that the floor thing?
it looks like you're falling into like a time loop, but it's literally just tile. And it's only if you look at it from a certain angle does it have that visual thing. They also have this like sanctum that has a Doctor Strange show. They have sort of a main circular area that's out in front of the Quinjet and the Avengers building that has a lot of shows. And then to your left will be Pym's Kitchen. And straight ahead is Guardians of the Galaxy. So that the land is basically an L shape. You walk in, turn left, and then everything is on either side of you headed straight towards Guardians. It's very small. It's much smaller than Galaxy's Edge. And it does only have one shop and basically two attractions. Tower of Terror repurposed attraction, and the new Web Slingers ride. But there is a third e-ticket planned, and the facade for that entry is already built, and that's where the Quinjet is.
Okay, so we got a question from Carson from YouTube. Does Mission Breakout have a shop inside? Yes, it does. As you exit after the ride, they've got all kinds of cool merch, and actually, that's like one of the few shops we've actually bought some pretty cool stuff from. And also, there's a question: do you get on automatically if you have a Web Slingers boarding group? I assume.
Yes, you don't have to wait in line to get into the land. There's a separate entry for people whose boarding group has been called. But honestly, the line to get into the land from all current reports is less and less and less every day.
Okay. So what do you want to talk about first? Pim's Test Kitchen or Web Slingers?
Web Slingers.
Or should we ask Christy what we should talk about?
Christy?
She's falling asleep.
I want to talk about whatever gets us over this topic quicker. And I have to deal with a client right now, but
yeah,
I'm doing that.
You do you.
I like food better, so let's talk about the rides first, and then get to the food.
Okay.
Web Slingers.
So Web Slingers, we didn't get it at 7 a.m., which was terrifying because we were like, we're not going to get to ride it probably. But then at noon, we went to the place where we had 5 bars and got that good 5G, AT&T, whatever, and we ended up getting it. So we were boarding group 143. We got to ride the ride at around 4. We waited in line for maybe 20 minutes. There is a pre-show, which is kind of cool. They have like a hologram a la Ray in Rise of Tom Holland. Playing Peter Parker rather, not Spider-Man. So he's like just pretending to be a smart high school kid, and we're like going on a tour of the web facilities, and then obviously mayhem happens, and they need our help. So as lightly spoiled as possible, you have to go help them solve a problem. And yeah.
You're in a ride vehicle, right?
Not yet. This is the pre-show.
Okay.
And then after the pre-show, the idea is that there are these things called spider bots that are taking over the entire campus. And from that point on, you actually see the spider bots like doing things in the air ducts, and like it's pretty cool like concept for the ride. But the actual ride itself, just to be super clear, is a D-ticket attraction. It is not an E-ticket attraction. And that is someone who believes that Midway Mania is also a D-ticket attraction. And I know there are a ton of people in Florida who would be like, Midway is an E-ticket attraction. It's one of the hardest fast passes to get. But hardcore disagree with you. We can all have different opinions. That ride is not as immersive as what I think a typical e-ticket would be. It's not a bad ride. It's a super fun ride. But just to manage everyone's expectations, if you've heard people compare Web Slingers to Midway, it's because it's a pretty good comparison. You're in a ride like on Midway, and you are shooting things on a screen.
Oh, so you're using little shooters in your car. Different
is that instead of shooters, your arms are the shooters, and you just sort of like...
Oh my God, my kid would love that.
Oh, yeah, Christy, it's going to be a hit. The reason why I'm not bothered by Web Slingers being a good D-ticket attraction, and I don't even think calling it a D-ticket attraction is an insult. I think it's just accurate. Mm-hmm. The thing is, it is fun. And also, there's no height requirement. There is no like restraint or limiting space in the vehicle. You could be any size, shape, height, whatever, and ride this ride. And I think that's amazing. And it's a comfortable space to be in. You can have up to 4 people in your row. You're very boxed out from everyone else. You are wearing goggles, so it's 3D. And there are some physical set pieces, but the majority of it is screens. And they found a way to track your arm movement. And so you shoot out webs, looks like the webs are coming out of your hands, and you destroy things. And it's fun, and you get points. And at the end of the whole thing, you get to find out if you were better than everyone else in your car. It's a fun attraction, and I don't want to discredit it. But if you're gonna hear people complain about this land, it's gonna be that, like, it feels a lot like when they opened Galaxy's Edge with just Millennium Falcon, which was cool. And like, Millennium Falcon's a great ride, but nobody is saying that Millennium Falcon is better than Rise. So they're building an amazing ride in this land, but it's years away. So for now, if you go to this land, your only 2 ride options are this Web Slingers and essentially a repurposed Tower of Terror ride, which is a ton of fun, but it's not an all-new.
But that's been there forever, right?
It has, but it's technically part of Avengers Campus.
Okay. That was the analogy I was going to make. That is it like Smuggler's Run? Fine ride, good ride. Everybody should experience it one time. Real diehard fans of somebody will want to experience it more, but some people, that don't want to hurl, like myself, will go on it once or maybe twice, be done with it. So is it like, but it's fun for everybody, but it's not like you want to do it every time like Rise. Or could you want to do it every time? Because actually, Midway Mania, you want to kind of do every time, but it's not that it's the most amazing ride. It's that you need to beat your family at this game.
So then my answer is yes. Because, the big downfall of the Millennium Falcon ride is that depending on what position you get, less fun.
Right.
And so, it's not like you're getting a bunch of points personally because of what you chose to do on Millennium Falcon. So if you feel like Midway is a must ride every time you go to the park, then I see no reason why you wouldn't must ride Web Slingers every time, because it is the same thrill of beating everybody else. It is the same thrill of getting to interact with a screened ride that is sort of like you're inside of a video game. It's a ton of fun. It is just not like Rise of the Resistance, even a little bit. It's just not that immersive. So like Disney set the bar way up here, and then they released another ride that's like on par with Midway Mania. Fun ride, but not an e-ticket.
Would you say it's about the same time?
Yeah. I think
Okay.
there are 4 scenes where you shoot things.
Because I mean, that's one thing that's kind of cool about Midway Mania is it's kind of a longer ride, and it's fun to interact, especially with your kids when they get into it, or your family, as you say, Christy. Okay, let's move on to Pim's Test Kitchen.
Sleeper hit. It's my favorite. It might be my favorite quick service restaurant at the resort.
So once again,
I know nothing about this place except that people just keep talking about it.
So you need reservations?
No, you need to online order.
Okay.
No reservations. It's quick service. And in fact, very few seats available. So most of the seating for the restaurant is actually over at the Hyperion Theater, the queue for the Frozen show, because the Frozen show's gone forever, apparently.
Like Woody's at
yes.
Hollywood Studios, no seating, and people want to eat the food.
That's a great example, but Woody's is a smaller operation. The Pim's restaurant is really big, but the seating options are very small.
Okay.
We did find seats without any trouble right there, but we've heard of people having to walk their food basically halfway through the land to go to the other temporary seating over by Frozen. So,
but at least they had it.
They had it. They were smart enough. And they even put up signs that were like Pim's Test Kitchen, when you're like, okay, why am I half a mile from Pim's Test Kitchen though? But still, I'm glad they had it. It's a good option. What I will say is, Christy, I'm not sure about gluten-free options. We didn't check a lot of it. We did check. Seth checked, because I was like, I wonder what Christy would eat here. So Seth can type in the chat what you would eat, Christy. But unfortunately, the best thing in the land doesn't come gluten-free, and that is the chicken sandwich. I don't know if this chicken sandwich would be as good if it wasn't fresh, but because the restaurant is so busy, it's all fresh food just coming out as quickly as possible. So we had like a really hot, fresh fried chicken sandwich. This thing is like the biggest chicken sandwich you've ever seen, but it doesn't end up being more filling than a normal chicken sandwich because it's just pounded really thin. So like it's still probably the same amount of like one chicken breast, but it's just like so thin that it's huge on the plate. It looks like it was supersized by science, right? For for those of you who don't know, the concept of the restaurant is they take foods and either shrink them down to be really small or they blow them up to be really big. And so the chicken sandwich looks like the biggest chicken sandwich you've ever eaten. Delicious. So recommend. It was really good. They have tater
Is it like a
tots.
share? Like you're supposed to share this chicken sandwich?
No, see, that's the thing. I got a kid's meal because it looked huge, and I was like, I'm going to get the kids' chicken sandwich. But Seth got the full-size chicken sandwich, and I don't think he was like uncomfortably full. Though there's a lot of fun appetizer type things that you could get at the restaurant. So, for example, they have a giant Bavarian pretzel that's like massive, and that would be fun to share with a group. They also have a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, but it has bananas and candied bacon. So no for me because of the bananas. I didn't want to die.
We're happy about that. Thank you.
Yes, we avoided the death of the bananas. They also have candied bacon as a side. 10 out of 10 would recommend. So good. The candied bacon is like delicious and basically a dessert. The only dessert in the land, or rather in the restaurant, is a candy bar that has been blown up to the size of a giant candy bar. When I say this thing is shareable, I mean it's shareable. It is a very large candy bar. And Brian and Sam, friends of the show from the DCL duo, tried it today, and they said it was great. Seth and I were too full to try it, so we didn't try it. But we definitely loved our experience there. They also have panini sandwiches that they call Pim Mini sandwiches.
Oh, the puns.
That's Steve's favorite thing ever, probably.
Puns. It's a dad pun. Well, the thing is, the sandwich, they have one that's $100. And it's meant to feed like a group of 8. So you can get a blown up giant size sandwich that's $100, but it would feed your whole family. So actually kind of a bargain. So anyway, my point is, plan to eat at the Pim Test Kitchen if you're going to California Adventure. And the moment you get in the land, look for a mobile order. And if you see one, order it because it's very crowded, very popular, and the food is worth it. Loved it. Can't recommend enough.
So before we leave Avengers Campus, we'll give a shout out to Anthony, Dennis, and Armando. Cheers, guys. And I want to give a shout out to, we keep saying Brian and Sam. And we have a huge crossover audience. I know most of you guys are probably following Brian and Sam at the DCL Duo. They are right down in Disneyland right now. And so make sure if you're not following, go over to their Facebook page. And they've got a YouTube channel as well. And they've got a lot of videos that they're putting up. So you can kind of see some of the things that Chris is talking about as well. So before we leave Avengers Campus, anything else stand out? And I want to know about that Spider-Man because that thing is super cool. It's okay. like an animatronic, but then it lands and there's a actor there. I mean, there's in Spider-Man's there.
Yeah. So if you don't have Disney Plus, but you listen to our podcast, what? But
I don't think that's a thing.
On Disney Plus, they have something called the Imagineer. What is the Imagineer?
Imagineering Story.
Imagineering Story. And in the final episode of that, they actually show you the design and implementation of something called a Stunttronic. And it's an animatronic that is not attached to anything. It's basically a robot that you throw in the air and you have it do stunts. But this robot looks like Spider-Man. What they do is they have Spider-Man run behind a building. And then they have like some robot being like, all right, let's try an altitude test, Spider-Man. And then Spider-Man's like, okay. And then they launch this thing 80 feet in the air. And then it lands in a place that you can't see. And then they have like smoke and damage come out of the side of the building. So it's like, it literally looks like he hurt himself. And then he comes stumbling out, the stunt actor. So it's like basically a trick of the eye, where it's like the real actor, then the Stunttronic, then the real actor again. And then at the end of that whole thing, he like Spider-Man's upside down the wall and then does a photo op with everybody waiting and watching. So it's amazing. The thing that we have to talk about, Steve, is that is just one of the like 7 entertainment options in the land. If when Galaxy's Edge opened, people complained that you couldn't see enough atmosphere, they have taken Avengers Campus and put some sort of Avenger in like a 360-degree view that you cannot look in a circle and not see someone from the Avengers or from the Marvel Universe. And what's even more amazing, Christy, this is going to be boring to you, but what's even more amazing is that as the shows, the episodes premiere on Disney Plus, the character then gets unlocked in the land. So, for example,
like
yeah.
Loki's there now. Can I go see him?
There, but during the first episode, we went after the second episode had premiered, right? But after the first episode premiered, the Loki that was in the land was wearing an orange prison jumpsuit because in that episode, he was wearing an orange prison jumpsuit. But after episode 2, his costume changed and he was wearing the new costume from episode 2 in the land when we went. And they're just evolving all the characters.
So you'd have to go like every day to know, or every week to know it was to be on top
and
of
Black Widow is coming out next Friday. Then she's going to be in the land. And the thing is, unlike Galaxy's Edge, which is locked to a specific day that just repeats like,
Groundhog Day
over and over again. In this, it's actually a multiverse. So their whole point is like, if you saw Tony Stark here, that wouldn't be weird because in the multiverse, he might not be dead. Or if you saw, a different type of character than you expected, it's okay because anybody is allowed to exist at any time frame in the land. So they've basically unlocked infinite possibilities. There's a Doctor Strange show where he basically does close-up magic in front of you for 20 minutes. Also amazing.
This is like a nerd's dream, huh?
Yeah, it's just like, it is a small but mighty land because they say it's 6 acres, but if you pull it up on Google Maps and try to find 6 acres in this land, you're like, it's more like a 4-acre land. It is small, but oh my gosh, is it so much fun. And you could easily spend 3, 4, 5 hours in the land if you wanted to see every show and every character interaction and eat at the restaurant and ride both of the rides. So I think it is officially worth a trip to California if you've been holding off to see this, because even though it's a small land, it's really, really fun land. So that's my take, my hot take review on Avengers Campus.
All right. So
is this being sarcastic? Liz says listener Liz, there are 3 Stuntronics. They are named Toby, Tom, and Andrew. And in
fact, Liz isn't. And the reason there are 3 is because depending on which one they launch.
Because they break their back while they're doing the flips?
No, they're programmed differently. So one of them is programmed to do a flawless, perfect stunt jump where it looks like the most skilled Spider-Man ever. Yeah. And then another one looks like a Spider-Man that's like spazzing out and like scared. And then a middle one that's kind of like, okay. And you don't know which one you're going to see. The one that you all saw in the video that's posted on our page is the best one that's like, I got this. But later in the day, they did the one that can't get it. And it's also very funny because it flies through the air like it's falling. And I think it's hilarious. So it's so much atmosphere. And Liz is telling the truth, not sarcasm.
She also wanted to know if I had enough fun in my beverage to get me through the conversation. I'm not sure I did. It's not strong enough. Just saying.
Christy, I have a feeling that the light in your son's eyes would get you through a visit to this campus.
Know.
He is gonna love it. It is so cool.
Not to mention, go ahead.
No, go on.
Not to mention, Guardians is probably one of the best rides. In the
Disney. My kid will have nothing to do with that. I don't think he'll go on that.
It's scary, but it's very fun.
He went on Tower of Terror this year, and he's like, no.
Well, put him on Guardians with the music and the characters. It's so much fun. It is so much fun.
Maybe we'll go in a year, and then we'll try the things.
Yeah.
I'll just say I'm missing Rocket. Okay. We need like a show a day almost to cover all this.
There's
stuff
so much to cover. I know. We've already been going for an hour and we haven't even talked about Disneyland.
All right, let's do this. Let's you rode Snow White over there?
Somebody has an alarm that they're late for something.
Yeah.
I did ride Snow White, but talk amongst yourselves for a second.
Okay. All right. So the one thing that we didn't talk about, Christy, is which cruise did you book? Let's wrap back around to that.
So I am not afraid to tell people because everybody can join us if they want. We are going on the December 19th through the 23rd. cruise of the Disney Wish out of Port Canaveral 2022. So, and I looked up my schedule, and he will.
Whoop. I don't know if I can.
Bad is happening somewhere.
There we go.
Oh.
All right, I muted him.
Okay.
So Disney Wish, you booked.
Disney Wish. Yeah, so his school schedule, like that's going to be his break. So it'll be his first 4 days of break. Then we have 2 days of like before Christmas. So it'll be perfect.
I love it. So what does it do?
I mean, what does it ever do? It goes to NASA.
Well, is it NASA, Castaway, Day at Sea?
And then it's Day at Sea. And I believe it's in that order, which is perfection. And if anybody wants to reach out to join my family, you should try. You should reach out to me, Christy at packyourpixiedust.com.
Christy, pack your pixie dust. I love that name that Elizabeth gave you. So
Diane.
Diane gave you.
Yeah.
Like losing my brain today.
It's been a long day for you.
Yeah, we're looking at doing. We're gonna go old school. We're going on the Wonder. We're gonna book a 3-night out of San Diego and turn it into one of those. Like, I know. Well, it's so easy to get down to San Diego, and really the 3-night turns into a 4-night when you spend the day in San Diego, and then we still hear something. What is that?
Yeah,
I know. Sorry
Chris
about
still
that.
has.
Oh, there we go. Yeah, so that's what we're looking to book tomorrow. Is we're gonna do a little Halloween on the High Seas, just Wake and I. And head down for a night in San Diego, have some dinner in San Diego, and then jump on the Wonder, go to Ensenada for the day, and then a day at sea, and then back. So love the Wonder, love Tiana's place, and
I love the
forward
Wonder.
to Halloween on the High Seas as well. So that's what we've got planned as far as that goes. What else were we going to talk about tonight, Christy?
Were we going to talk about Vero for like 7 seconds?
I think we're going to have to save that maybe for another one because we kind of gone long.
So because of you and because of Amber, friend of the show, social media director, Amber, I have booked a couple of days over like Thanksgiving break for Vero. Because
go ahead.
Yeah, I think that we need to go. I wish I could go this summer actually, but it's super sold out. And I know I could try to wait list. Yeah. But so yeah, it looks like it could still be warm enough. So November should be good.
Yeah. Dennis says Vero. I'm telling you, I was blown away. That it was. Everybody's talked about it and said it's an amazing place. If you want a place to end a cruise or end your Disney World vacation and kind of just relax, it's about an hour and a half down there. Super quiet, great pool, great beach, lots of different like activities. Our youngest son did. Our kids did putt putt, which is right there by the pool. They went through that like 4 or 5 times. They have archery during the day. They have all different kinds of crafts that the kids can do. They've got bikes you can ride. There's the quick service, I think, is spot on, really good. The one knock I would say is probably I've heard that the meal or the dining, the sit down dinings may not be the best. We didn't do it, so I can't really say that. As far as things being really close to the, whoops, sorry, Chris, you're muted. There you go. You were muted, Chris. Sorry.
No worries. Is everything sounds good or no?
Yeah, no. You were picking up your phone call. That's why.
Oh.
Okay. Anyways, I will just say this. We'll do a little longer thing on Vero, but we loved it. And if you're looking for some way, if you're a DVC member and just want to chill out either before or after your cruise or your Walt Disney World vacation, I think like 2 days down there is perfect.
Yeah, maybe we'll get Amber back on to do a show with you. And they teach me all the things. And she loves Vero. She was just there like the week before you. When we were going out to dinner, she was at Vero.
It looks beautiful and clean.
It was amazing compared to the resort that we were at down in the Keys. I mean, it was just like night and day. It's like
and that
Disney
resort was
so
supposed to be nice that you were at the Keys.
It was a nice resort, but there's something about Disney. Like I don't know how they do it, but it's just amazing. The smells. You walk in the lobby, there's like a cool smell there and everything. Dennis says get the pork belly sliders at dinner if they still have them. We didn't eat dinner there, but Vero Beach. It's definitely on our radar.
To go back to Holly was talking about this cup. Holly, they sell it at Shop Disney and it's free shipping today. So go buy it right now because you don't have to pay for shipping and you can buy just the cup.
Also, Holly, that line of like pink
It's
tropical
so
things
cute.
is available in a lot of things. T-shirts, purses, backpacks, shoes. It's all over the resort in Disneyland.
I seem to have a blanket in this line, and I also have a pillow.
It's very Golden Girls.
So
No, I like the Golden Girls. That's a positive thing.
so we're running kind of late.
Yeah.
Kind of.
Yeah. Is it worth talking about Snow White's real quick?
I'll just give you like my super high levels on Disneyland. So Snow White is a new attraction to me. Whenever they redo a ride, I say it's a new attraction because that feels new to me and I get excited. So the original Snow White scared children, and the Imagineers were like, maybe we should not scare the kids on Snow White, which is arguably like the most boring Disney movie that exists. Sorry, everyone who loves Snow White, but it's just not it's not that scary. And yet the attraction was dark and lightning and like, she's going to die on the edge of a cliff and then it's over and they don't explain what even happens to her. The original attraction was really weird. The new attraction gives you the full story, basically. It's sparkly, it's shiny, it's new. All the effects are like peak top notch. Some of the classic effects are still in there. We loved it and we waited like 10 minutes in line. So highly recommend.
Wow.
Go do it. I don't know why. The longest line was Peter Pan because people love to fly on a boat. But I loved that ride. I mean, literally, it felt like if you ever went on the redid version of Alice in Wonderland at Disneyland, it's like that. So it's just plussed up. The whole thing is brighter and cheerier. Also, I ate at Blue Bayou for the first time. And I got to say that it was so good. It was amazing. The food at Blue Bayou was like much, much better than it has been rated in the past. And I think that's because they're like
one of two restaurants open.
Yeah, and not only that, but they're also like, this is supposed to be our like nicest restaurant in Disneyland. We got to make sure that the food here is really good. We can't just like be serving people less quality food when you have Carthy Circle just across the way. And Carthy Circle is like world-class, really, really good food. So it was hot, fresh, and creative food, and I loved it. And they also sell alcohol there now, which is the first restaurant at Disneyland that isn't in Galaxy's Edge to sell alcoholic beverages. And Club 33, but that doesn't count. So those are my like highlights from Disneyland, basically.
So to finish out, obviously you guys loved being back at Disneyland, Disney's California Adventure, just being in the bubble. It's great to see it opening up again. What kind of tips would you have for people that are going down there right now?
Yeah, so the mask wearing is over, apparently.
The pandemic is over, Chris. You didn't get the memo.
The pandemic ended on June 15th, 2021.
Everywhere.
Everywhere in California and therefore everywhere. We wore masks, so I don't know what to say. We chose to. And we're vaccinated, but we chose to because kids under 12 still can't. So we made that decision. And we only wore them indoors. So when we were outdoors, we felt like, okay, the risk of us transmitting a virus to anybody is really limited. We're not standing close to people. But when we were in queues and when we were inside, as long as we weren't eating, we wore masks. That was our personal choice. Disney was not enforcing mask wearing in any way. So you wouldn't have to wear masks if that's an issue for you. But we chose to. We were probably among 10% of people who wore masks. So,
and at Walt Disney World, it's less than that.
Yeah.
Wearing masks right now.
I think for me, my personal threshold will be when they open up vaccines for all ages, because then, the protection is really out there for everybody. But right now, there's a ton of kids in the resort and it's summertime. So we just chose to wear masks. That's all there really is to say about that. There is no enforcing of masks and there's no enforcing of any distancing. So if those were reasons you weren't going to go before, it doesn't exist now. Cast members in Disney World recently were told that they don't have to wear masks outside, but they still have to inside. And at Disneyland, they have to wear masks outside and inside, though I imagine Disneyland will follow suit as well soon for cast members not having to wear masks. So the COVID-related rules are a little bit changing constantly. Also, Disneyland is allowed to be at full capacity. They are not at full capacity because they can't get enough cast members trained fast enough. So Most restaurants are open now. The only two I can think of off the top of my head that aren't open right now are Hungry Bear and Carnation Cafe on Main Street. But they reopened Pizza Planet. They reopened Cafe Orleans. So there are a lot of food options available now at Disneyland. And California Adventure is about the same. Pretty much every place we went in California Adventure was currently open for food.
Any other tips as far as people coming down there right now that might make their stay a little bit easier, just navigating other than what we've already talked about?
Become very familiar with the Disneyland app, because that is how you're going to navigate your entire trip. That's how you'll get your food and pay for your food. You can even pay for your merchandise at World of Disney through the app now. You don't have to go to a cashier at all at World of Disney. You will get your boarding groups for the hot ticket rides through the Disneyland app. So basically, make sure that you have everyone's tickets uploaded on the app. Make sure that you have all of your reservations accurately reflected in the app, because if that's not correct, when you go to get your Web Slingers reservation, not everyone in your party will be able to go with you. When you go to get a food reservation and it's not accurate in there, then that could also impact it. So, and also you have to have reservations to get into the parks. So you really just need to be a bit more tech savvy than you ever have had to be in the past, which probably will be a barrier for some people. But if you view yourself as tech savvy or feel like you can get there, then I would say it is definitely worth the cost of admission right now. And that is someone who used to go for the cost of an annual pass and who has now had to pay full price for a day at Disneyland. And I haven't done that in 2 decades, 3. I don't even know when the last time I paid for a ticket to Disneyland because I had an annual pass. So I think it's worth it. I think you should make the trip if you're wanting to spend your vacation dollars somewhere. Disneyland Hotel opens July 2nd. So you'll be able to stay on property in even more places soon.
And they've got some really good rates I heard today coming out, right, Christy? 25% off at the Grand Cal, 20% off at Disneyland Hotel, and I think that runs through October 3rd.
Yes, it's early fall.
Early fall.
Ends.
Okay.
And even though I make fun of Marvel World, I still book it for my clients. So I'm happy to help you with that.
The world of Marvel, right next to the world of Disney.
See what a great name that would be.
It would
Wait.
be.
I have to tell you a DCL related thing. So
All right.
The DCL dude and I were messaging back and forth about just naming the ships because I had made a joke that the name of Snow White's new ride is the Enchanted Wish. And I made a joke on our Instagram page that those are the names of the 2 new ships, the Enchantment and the Wish. We don't know the names of the other ships. We just know the Wish. But it seems very likely we're going to get something Enchanted and something probably Believe related, but who knows? But then the DCL dude was like, what else would you name the ship? And I was like, Christy will hate this. However,
no, don't even say it on the air.
It just as a name of a ship. It doesn't need to be themed, but the name of a ship, this would be a beautiful name. The Disney Marvel would be like such a beautiful ship name, such a marvel to behold, such a marvelous ship on the sea. I don't want it to be fully themed Marvel, but the name Marvel feels nice to me. So anyway.
Didn't Steve suggest the stupid Marvel thing in the statue in the lobby too? So there you go.
What,
your
Iron
world of
Man?
Marvel.
I don't. You know what? I like that name, Marvel. In all honesty, I think that
I don't hate it. I'm not gonna lie. I don't hate it
because you could go a lot of different ways with it, right?
You could. Yes, obviously you would have Marvel things in there from the franchise, but also just the idea of it is a marvel to behold this ship. I'm into it. I want Marvel class ships. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, that's my new pitch, and I'll leave you with that.
All right. Before we get out of here, we got a bunch of little nuts and bolts things, but one question: have they announced when 2022 can be booked for Disneyland? That's not anytime soon yet, right?
I think they're only booking out 6. I don't know how many months in advance. It's like 90 days in advance right now.
Yeah.
Or less.
And then did you get a Rise or a boarding group for Rise of the Resistance, Chris? Did you guys ride?
We did. We rode it. We loved it. We lived for it. And they even had like a B scene in there. I think normally, what's his name? Kylo Ren gets blown out of the ship and there's fire. We had the B scene where he just stands there and talks to you, which still loved it. So it's easily the best ride ever made in terms of like immersive, like dark ride. Easily, which is why Disney has sort of like messed themselves up, because Web Slingers is a good ride, and if it had been released before Rise, I wouldn't even be like, well, I really want an e-ticket. I would be like, it's a great ride, but when you compare it to Rise, you're like, wait, where's the cool new tech? Where's the 40-minute ride experience?
I don't know. There's some kind of neat tech to go like this and have something happen.
Oh, it's neat tech. But it's just not like as immersive, I guess, is my point. It's very like I want everyone to ride Web Slingers.
Just no tell for people watching live.
Christy just did the Spider-Man hands.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. All right. One last comment. Dennis says, name the next one the Disney Force.
No, why would you read that out loud? Do not promote such behavior.
The Disney Marvel and the Disney Force be with you.
I love that. We could bring them out to the West Coast. The 2 new ships, bring them out to the West Coast, right?
Never happening.
Yeah, if you East Coast people don't like them, we'll bring them out to the West Coast. All right. Before we get out of here, just a couple things to go over. We are doing a DCL 101 show, and I'm just going to announce this, even though maybe it hasn't actually been engraved in stone, on fish extenders. And yes. Anthony Hatch has agreed to help out with us, and I think Chris is going to do that. And if there's anybody out there in our listening audience that is like super big into fish extenders that would like to be part of that, please reach out to myself or Christy, and we'll get you onto that show. Also, we want to give a huge shout out to all our Patreon supporters. Thank you so much for each and every week for all that you guys do, helping us bring this show to everyone. I do apologize that last week we didn't have anything out there, but it was vacation time, so we needed a little bit of that. We will put a Vero Beach show together for those of you who are DVC people. It is like one of the cheapest points per night that you can stay there. We stayed at the hotel room, which having kids that are older now that don't have to sleep on those pull-out couches where you actually have 2 queen-size beds, amazing. I will tell you that as well. So we'll get a hold of Amber and make sure we get that one out as well. Tomorrow, Gold Castaway Club members can book fall 2022. We move into Wednesday for Silver Castaway Club members, also Disney Vacation Club members, and then the general public will be able to book Thursday, June 24th for the fall 2022 dates. And if you would like to, if you don't have a travel agent that you're working with right now and you'd like to reach out to Christy, how can they get a hold of you?
You can find me all over the web at packyourpixiedust.com. My email is always in the show notes, Christy@packyourpixiedust.com. And there's a phone number on there too, so you can actually call me and we'll help you get you booked. There's still slots available so for these mornings, so it's not like it's not a giant list for this release, and so you could still have early priority to get booked right away first thing in the morning.
Perfect. Well, before we get out of here, let's go around the horn one more time. Chris, any final thoughts?
Go to Disneyland. It's so much fun. I'm going back. I'm going back on July 20th, July 19th and 20th. So I'm already back there.
That's impressive.
Makes me sad.
I loved it. I cried. I loved it. Everything. Also, wait, watch Luca on Disney Plus. It is such a good movie. I cried. I laughed. Luca is amazing. It's included if you have a Disney Plus subscription. You don't even have to pay Premier Access, and it just came out this week. Go watch it. It's amazing.
Would I like that? Which one is that the Marvel one, or is that
no.
the
Luca's
little
the new
fishy
Pixar,
things?
The new Pixar animated.
Okay, that does look good.
Watch it. And watch it with Blake. It's so good.
We will. He already has the toy, so
yeah,
a toy from it.
All right, Christy, any final thoughts as we get out of here?
No, this was a lot to stay awake through.
You know, we all have our crosses to bear sometimes, right? And you were a trooper tonight. So, well, thanks everybody for who watched us live. Thank you so much for coming back and tuning in. And we will have another show out next week. I do apologize that once again, the last week we missed out on, but it was a
Don't
vacation time
apologize,
for Chris
Steve.
and I. Okay, well, I won't apologize, but we will have a new show out next week. It's a fun show with our friends over at Off to Neverland.
Oh,
Detours to Neverland.
Detours to Neverland. Yeah.
It is fun.
I always
That's
want
a
to say
good
Off
episode.
to Neverland. Yeah. So we'll have that out next week and a lot of other fun shows as well. So thanks for everybody for coming back and taking a listen. And we will see you next time on the DCL podcast. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye.
The DCL podcast is not affiliated with the Disney Cruise Line, Walt Disney Company, Adventures by Disney, or Run Disney. All of the opinions expressed on our shows are those of the hosts and the guests who appear on the show. If you have any questions about any of these products, please contact the Walt Disney Company.